Chapter 2 relates to the ICD9 CM conventions. In ICD9 CM, most conventions are used in all three volumes. There are slight variations, however, used within Volume 3 for the procedures. Conventions we will cover include instructional notes, abbreviations, cross-reference notes, punctuation marks, and relational terms such as and, with, and due to. First, we'll review the general notes. Most appear in the tabular list of diseases, and they are used to provide general information on the usage of codes within a specific section, or may provide information regarding fifth digits that may be applicable or used within a certain area. General notes also are used in the alphabetical index for diseases and procedures, and are usually enclosed in boxes and printed in italic type. The next type of instructional notes are the inclusions and exclusion notes. These are used to indicate when certain conditions are or are not included within a subdivision. The location of the inclusion or exclusion note is very important. For example, if the note is at the beginning of a chapter or a section, then the note applies to all codes within that chapter or section, and is not repeated within each individual category or specific codes. It is also important to look at the preceding pages because notes affecting a code may be located on a previous page. Inclusion notes are introduced by the word includes when placed at the beginning of a chapter or section. The word includes is not used when the inclusion note applies only to a category or a subcategory code. Exclusion notes are introduced by the word excludes. Exclusion notes are usually enclosed in a box or shaded in most printed versions. Also, excluded conditions are listed in alphabetical order with the code number or code range shown in parentheses. You may also see a message stating code this condition elsewhere or use another code. A second type of exclusion notes, two codes that appear to be similar actually have different codes. Use one code or the other, but not both. Code first notes are used in the tabular list to identify a code for a condition that is a manifestation of an underlying disease, or the underlying condition must be sequenced before the code for the manifestation. Code first notes are also used in the alphabetical index, listing the underlying code first, followed by the manifestation in brackets. The code for the underlying disease will also have an instructional note in the tabular list to indicate use additional code for the manifestation. The last instructional note is use additional codes. These notes indicate that another code may be needed to completely code the condition. If the condition mentioned in the note is documented as present, the additional code should always be assigned. It is not necessary to repeat the code identified in a use additional code note in the diagnosis field immediately following the primary code, meaning it could be used and listed as the third, fourth, fifth, or even sixth diagnosis. There is no strict hierarchy inherent in the coding guidelines, nor in the ICD9 CM classification regarding the sequencing of secondary diagnosis codes. Many of the codes listed in the tabular list of ICD9 CM will indicate if a code is complication or a comorbidity, and these are shown usually with a blue box with a CC listed next to the code in most publishers' coding books, or a condition may be listed as a major complication or comorbidity. Again, you'll see the little blue box, but it will have MCC in it. I prefer to list these conditions following the principal diagnosis because these types of codes will have an impact on reimbursement. So again, many of the codes, if it says CC or MCC, those you will want to sequence a little bit higher, closer to the principal diagnosis, because as your grouper looks for complications and comorbidities would that affect your reimbursement, it'll be in the right position. Use additional code notes also indicate that if a casual condition was present, it would be sequenced before the code to which this note is attached. Unlike the instructional note code first underlining condition, the code may be used either as a first listed or principal diagnosis if no causal condition is applicable or known. Next, we'll review the abbreviations NEC for not elsewhere classified and NOS for not otherwise specified. Abbreviations are used in the alphabetical index to indicate there is no separate code for the condition, even though the diagnostic statement may be very specific. These codes are ordinarily classified to the final digit of an 8, with a title that includes the words other specified or not elsewhere classified. Abbreviations are also used in the tabular list. When in the tabular list, they indicate neither the diagnostic statement nor the medical record provides information that permits classification or coding to a more specific code. These codes are ordinarily classified to the final digit of a 0.9. Some conditions listed both as not elsewhere classified and unspecified are sometimes combined in one code. The C note is mandatory for the coder to refer to an alternative term. For example, the entry for hemiarthrosis traumatic uses this cross-reference. It advises the coder to reference the entry for sprain by site. The C also note advises the coder that there is another place in the alphabetical index to which one must refer to when the code entries under consideration do not provide a code for a specific condition or procedure. It is not necessary to follow this cross-reference when the original entries provide all of the information necessary. An example is when the cross-reference for the terms psychosis, schizophrenia, schizophrenic advises the coder to see also schizophrenia, when none of the specific subterms provides a code. If the coder is trying to locate catatonic schizophrenia, it would not be necessary to follow this cross-reference, because there is a subterm catatonic under the subterm schizophrenia. If the diagnosis were undifferentiated schizophrenia, the code would be located by following the C also cross-reference. The C category note is similar to the C cross-reference note. It provides the coder with a category number, and it is mandatory that the coder refer to the number in the tabular list and select a code from the option provided there. The C condition note advises the coder to refer to the main term for that condition. The coder will encounter this note when they are being referred to an adjective rather than to the noun form of a condition. ICD9 CM uses punctuation marks such as parentheses, square brackets, and colons. Parentheses are used to enclose non-essential modifiers, supplemental words, or an explanatory information that may either be present or absent in the statement of diagnosis or procedures without affecting the code to which it is assigned. Essential modifiers are listed as subterms in the alphabetical indices and not in parentheses, and essential modifiers do affect code assignment. Square brackets are often used in the tabular list to include synonyms and alternative wordings, abbreviations, and explanatory phrases that provide additional information. The square brackets are also used to indicate that the number in the bracket can only be a manifestation, and the other number must be assigned first for the underlying condition. Colons are used in both inclusion and exclusion notes to indicate that one of the modifiers from the list indented below the entry must be present in order for the statement to apply. Relational terms, such as the word and, should be interpreted to mean either and or when it appears in a title. For example, code 415.1X in Volume 1 includes pulmonary embolism and or pulmonary infarction. In Volume 3, code 38.5X includes ligation and or stripping of varicose veins. In both of these examples, The two conditions or the two procedures may be present, or one of these may only be present. The words due to in either the alphabetical indices and the tabular list indicate that a causal relationship between the two conditions is present. ICD9 CM occasionally makes such an assumption when both conditions are present. In other combinations, however, the diagnostic statement must indicate the relationship, and we will definitely explore this as we get into the remaining chapters in the body systems. Words such as with mention of, associated with, and in indicate that both elements in the title must be present in the diagnostic or procedural statement. Although these terms do not necessarily indicate a cause and effect relationship, they occur together much of the time, and the classification system indicates this relationship. The word with should be interpreted to mean associated with or due to when it appears in a code title, the alphabetical index, or in an instructional note in the tabular list. The word with in the alphabetical index is sequenced immediately following the main term and not in alphabetical order.